All right. So it looks like we're live. It says this Hangout on air is live.
I just got the notification.
All right.
Yep.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Looks like we're
Hello.
All right.
Hello,
So
Gun Nation.
it looks like we already have that thumbs down. That's awesome. Thank you for the thumbs down already.
Hey, it counts either way.
Oh, I already know who it is, Tundra Tactical, because now he's going to try to plug his channel the whole time he's here. That's
Right.
great. So good evening, gentlemen. How are both of you?
I am living the dream. How are you?
Oh man, I am just I'm like a rock star, man. Yachts, sports cars, mansions. What about you, KS? What are you doing?
Man, just going one day at a time. I was back at work today. I took a couple of days off, and it's always so depressing to go back to work. I did not want to get up this morning. I just wanted to do nothing and enjoy. But unfortunately, the real world calls.
That's right. And as responsible adults, we must concede to that. So again, to everybody on the side panel here on the side chat, hello to everyone. Good evening to all of you. We bring good tidings to everyone here. Hopefully you feel the same way. So Harry is already asking me, how is Monaco? Not sure what that means, actually. But so I got a couple of questions for you, gentlemen. I'd like to kind of start it off with these questions and see what your thoughts are. But really quick, what are some of the guns you guys have been looking at lately? I mean, obviously there hasn't been much to really kind of say, ooh, look at that. But what are some of the things that you've been looking at, maybe bought, maybe have shot already? So I'd like to hear what you guys are looking at right now, currently on the market.
Go ahead, KS.
Well, so if you follow me on Instagram, and we're all on Instagram, of course, I recently acquired a Taurus G2C. So I guess it's the new version of the PT-111. And so I took that and I shot it. I shot a lot over my 4-day weekend. And the Taurus was actually a really pleasant surprise. I don't want to give away anything. It's obviously got some quirks and that sort of thing, but it's the first time I've ever shot a Taurus. So the taste in my mouth was actually pretty positive, which is good. And I hope it continues. I've got some faith in this for such a budget gun. It's pretty impressive. But in terms of wish list, I actually have a couple of guns that I'm starting to inquire about. It's one of those things where I plant seeds at Centerfire and Frontier and basically just say, hey, if you happen to see one or whatever, give me a holler, let me know. And so that's the PPSM2 with the shield red dot. I'd actually really like to give that a try. I mean, I've got a little bit of experience with red dots, not a lot. I'm still pretty much a noob, but enough to where I've got a little bit of a feel for it. Sorry, Harry's texting me. But I want to know on such a small platform what the red dot will do, what kind of difference it makes, what kind of feel it is. And it just looks like a cool little gun. But the other one is actually the PPQ Q4 TAC. That again would be one, if I wanted to try a PPQ again and revisit, because it's been quite a while now, that would be one I'd be very interested in. So that's kind of the wish list right now. And that really coupled with the stuff that I've got right now that I still have to do reviews on, I think that'll probably take me through the end of the year pretty close, which is good because the budget is gone. So I'm obviously I've got some stuff that's gone out the door that I've previously reviewed and working on a couple of other things. So I'm not in a hurry for any of this stuff. It's not a big deal. But I think they'd be fun to try.
Very cool. What about you, Big J?
First, let's see here. Stephen Worth says your Hot Pocket's ready, KS, so you might want to grab that.
That's his dinner. That's his dinner. He's been cooking.
Yeah. But no, I've been kind of wanting to get a little more into the long range game. And I brought it up on another chat, about a 308. And so I grabbed one. I have a new 308. I haven't even shown it yet. I haven't done anything on Instagram, so I will be doing that, but I'm pretty excited about it. Don't know if it's going to stay in its glory that it is now. It actually could change, but that's kind of grabbed that. As far as pistols, I still like the 509 Tactical. I'm still very interested in that. Other than that, there's not a whole lot, and I know that we're like, you yourself, you put money down on the Strike B or whatever the hell that thing was, the
Right.
Arsenal or whatever they were calling it. You know, and that thing was already supposed to be out, but I guess it's a train wreck. You know, we hadn't heard anything about it. You know, because I was just wanting to put my hands on it again, other than when I did at NRA, and also to see what the price point was going to come in at. But yeah, there's no way I would buy that gun now just because of all this crap they've done. But other than that, that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah,
What about you?
it's kind of interesting. I mean, for me, it's kind of, I don't really know where I'm at with handguns right now. You know, I've got a couple of things obviously that I just picked up, the Gen 519, the P07 again, shot them all already. I really have to say I am pleasantly once again surprised by the Gen 5. I'll do a review on that, but obviously, you know, you guys know when it first came out, I was like, why would you get a Gen 5 if you have a really good Gen 4? But I have to say there have been some nice little tweaks on the Gen 5. Nothing amazing or you know, groundbreaking, but just enough to still make you want it a little bit more, which is again, it's a brilliant strategy with Glock. On the other note, you know, with the rifles, I still have to sight in my scope on the M1A, so that's gonna, you know, be interesting. Hopefully I don't dislocate my shoulder doing it, but we'll definitely, you know, see. Now, I just want to follow up on something really quick. KS mentioned the PPS M2 shield with the shield red dot. Just both of you really quick. I mean, what do you think the real, I mean, do you think there's an actual advantage to having a gun that small with a red dot? Just because, you know, with that gun being so small, I mean, that's usually one you pull and you just pow, 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 pow. I mean, it doesn't have the distance, but I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that?
Go ahead, KS.
You know what? The jury's out. It's a great question. I mean, there are some definite advantages to a red dot, certainly on the competitive circuit. Then also with longer guns. I mean, you know, and I'm not a long distance shooter. I'm not terrifically accurate. You guys know that, but I know a lot of shooters that are pretty hardcore that, at least at centerfire, I mean, they'll throw that target all the way at the very end. And I think it's, 80 feet, something like that. I don't know. It's not a terrifically long range, but somewhere around there. They, you know, they'll shoot with the red dot and they are pretty precise. Now we're talking like a 2.5 or 1 you know, they're the little dots, not like a 6 MOA or anything like that. But as far as a concealed carry, a tiny little gun, a single stack, even a pocket gun, something like that, I don't know, because that's an up close and personal. Oh crap, this is happening. You're hardly going to be thinking side acquisition. You're going to be thinking, oh crap, and trying not to pee. So I really don't know. But most people that have a lot more experience with red dots say that red dots are faster to acquire because you're only acquiring 1 dot rather than 3. There's less alignment to worry about, and it's point and shoot. It's basically like working with a laser without the laser touching the person. So perhaps there's merit to it. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, I've been shooting the carry optics division. Not that I'm a great master at it, because I'm not. You know, and it's all new to me. But you know, the neat thing is if you can put the dot on your target, you know, naturally, even a smaller plate or something like that, you can hit it. So I look at it this way: if say you had to make the longer shot, say you're just carrying that PPS that day, and you're at the mall or you're in a bigger venue, and you have to take a longer shot, that could actually help you, because you don't have necessarily the long sight radius like on a TSO or a 5-inch gun. So that can actually help, and it really doesn't matter about sight radius for a red dot. So I could see where that could really be beneficial in a situation like that, you know, a movie theater, just something crazy, where you had to use it. So I think there's definitely a benefit in it. I mean, am I a marksman with it? No. You know, hope to be someday, but you know, I think there's definitely merit in it.
Yeah. Now, Dennis Jones brings up something interesting. He says, I personally shoot better focusing on the target than on the gun. Maybe it is just me. And I think also that leads into the argument that, you know, when you have your sights and you, God forbid, you're in a self-defense situation, you pull your gun and you have to shoot somebody. I really don't. I mean, I've never really been in that situation, thankfully. And I would assume most of us have never been in that situation. But, you know, I really wonder if at that moment in time, when you have to use deadly force on someone, are you really even focusing on that red dot, or you're just pulling your gun, the adrenaline's rushing, you're basically going blind when that adrenaline's going, and you're just pulling the trigger. I just, sometimes I wonder if the patterns are more, and I mean this, and I'm saying this loosely, more gimmicky than anything else. You get a certain trend in the, and let's be honest, in the popular culture of the gun community, and all of a sudden it explodes and takes off, and everybody's got to have one. But the realistic point of view would be, well, do you really actually need that? Is a PPS M2 as effective as a PPS M2 with that shield?
Yeah. I don't know. The debate will be out on that. At the end of the day, those types of guns to me are up close and personal. They are, they are draw, point as best you can and shoot, presuming there's nothing behind the target that you're trying to shoot, obviously. But I don't know. The jury's out on that. It may be a total waste of time, and it may be just a gimmick. But so many other people and experts in the industry, well, I'll say experts loosely, it all depends on your perspective, but other experts are saying that red dots seem to be the way concealed carry is going. And it's not a niche. It's not as prevalent, obviously, as iron sights, but it's not a niche anymore. So there's got to be some credence to that. I feel like there's got to be something to it. But again, it may be pointless on such a small gun. I don't know. But there are other people that say and certainly use small guns, and they can get out and reach a pretty good distance. It's not practical. It's not something I ever trained for, but some people do. So I don't know. I think there's an argument for both sides, and people here in the crowd have been making some great points on both sides of the fence. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for red dots transitions, and I'm just going to kind of throw this out there. Say you've got a bad guy at 10 yards and you've got a bad guy at 15 yards, and then you've got a bad guy at 12 yards. Your transition with the dot, because you're not looking at the dot. You don't stare at the dot. You stare at your target, or, sight your target. And then of course you put the dot on the target. You can sweep. So you can shoot them very fast. I mean, now I'm not that great of a shooter, but I've seen people just clean plate racks or clean crazy targets with them.
Right.
So yeah, if it's in the right hands, it's deadly. But
right.
So I can see the value in that, rather than, pointing your sights on someone and shoot, having to,
right.
end that threat, and then pointing your sights at someone else. I think it's going to be faster to sweep and to transition, definitely. And I've experienced that just in, carry optics. So I think there's definitely value to it if need be,
It's a good point, and I think also, and this will be the last thing I say about it is, when you're shooting plates and targets versus a person in a real situation, I still don't think it equates necessarily the same.
Well, they're trying to make it equate to the same, meaning if it was
muscle memory, that type of stuff.
Yeah, if it was a group of bad guys and they were, not all piled in one thing where you could just mow them down. If they were in different areas, that's where that could come into play. Because think about rifles, I mean, people have been using red dots on rifles forever. And I remember, hell, I grew up back in the day where, those are just a gimmick. Those aren't going to take off. Well, hell, now you don't see a rifle without one. So it's kind of, that's going into the pistol realm too. And I think as they make them better and better and better and better, I think it's going to definitely be part of the future. I mean, I already know police officers that are carrying them on their actual, official weapons.
Right.
So,
right.
Now,
and it go ahead, Cass.
Well, I was just going to say, there have been some fantastic points out there. I've been kind of trying to keep up with what everybody's been saying. And a couple of guys were talking about, iron sights, and they don't need batteries, and that sort of thing, which is a very good point. And so I think co-witness is an absolute must for me. And that's why I like the Q4 TAC. That'd be a fun gun just to try and just to fart around with. But to me, that does not meet up to my expectation with a red dot, because you're losing that rear sight. Now you can get some red dots that have a cut in them, so there might be a little bit of co-witness there. So that at least is a thing, and that could be good. But you're not going to get the night sight advantage or anything like that. So I think having backups, because anytime you've got an electrical, a mechanical device or anything, of course, mechanical device guns, I just kind of shot my own argument there, but at least something that requires a battery or something that could short out, there's always that risk, always that danger. So that's a consideration for sure. But at the same time, and music, I think mentioned this, people that have eyes that are getting a little bit older don't see quite as well. Red dots can be an exceptional advantage. And I think Mateo is making some of those points as well. You can adjust them. They can be brighter, they can be bigger dots. And so they can help aid people not only with acquisition and speed and that sort of thing, but just to be able to see the targets very well. I mean, I'm getting to a place where standard white dots, at least at the range inside, they're not doing as well for me as they used to. So I'm leaning more and more heavily on some sort of differentiation with that front sight, maybe an HD sight or at least something. I mean, this Taurus, I threw some red paint in the front. It was not the best choice. I tried to find something more neon, and I'll do that in the future. But
I'll tell you this.
Yeah, I may need you to, although what I picked up is pretty close to that. But I needed something. I felt like I was searching for that sight more and more, and I'm probably blaming. I'm putting a lot of blame on that and making excuses, but there's some truth to it. So again, there's an argument on both sides, I think.
Yeah,
those are great points, fellas.
Because I think up close and personal, I mean, we can all agree up close and personal. I mean, I can point shoot. Y'all can point shoot. I mean. And hell, I've even done matches where my sights were completely freaking off and I had to point shoot. So, I mean, we can adapt to what we're given to a certain extent. But, and, like you brought up the point about the color on the front, most of your pistols come with red, like fiber optics. They just come standard. They suck for me, indoor or outdoor. So I've changed all mine to green and they just really show up so much better.
And even with that color thing, obviously people will say, well, your eye responds better with the green because of this or whatever. One of the things I notice is it really depends on the color of that green or yellowish, I guess you could say, because a lot of all my sights have some sort of high def front to it, just because I can't see, man. It just, for whatever reason, I just can't pick up that front dot as well. And as long as they're using something bright on the front, it's automatic, and I do like that. I really wish every manufacturer went that way, and it seems like they are more and more. I think some manufacturers have to change the color of their orange a little bit, make it a little bit brighter, so it definitely hits the eye a little bit better. But all great points. Now, I did want to just say something really quick. Rabbi Jesus gave us $4.99, so he said that he wants to take a moment to mention Fort Scott Ammunition. So apparently, we're being sponsored by Fort Scott Ammunition right now.
Give them a plug right there.
Yeah, $24.99 a box. Woo, that's. I'd love for them to send me a lot of ammunition. I mean, I would love it, but I know that's not going to happen. So thank you, Rabbi, for the $4.99, and we appreciate the donation. So I got another question for you guys, and this can also go out to the side chat as well. So obviously, people who have a lot of handguns, there's always one gun that, for whatever reason, you just can't carry it or shoot it because you just love it too much. It's too pretty. It's too meaningful. Whatever. Do you have what everybody calls a safe queen? And if you do, what is it?
Big Johnson.
Okay. Well, I actually have two, but I do shoot them, but not very often. I've got my grandfather's actual real German Mauser. He was a pilot in the German War, or he was for American, but he went to the German War, brought back a Mauser with the, I'll say, symbol on it. So it's in pristine condition, and it shoots great. And I've shot it many times, but I really don't shoot it anymore. And that's one reason. And then I have my very first pistol, and I've done videos on it, which is a Smith & Wesson 439, 9mm. And it was made in '86. So I've had it since day one, and I've shot it like actually a lot, but I don't carry it. I won't carry it. And I don't really shoot it much at all anymore, but the damn thing shoots great. It really does. It's got blacked out battle sights on it. So it's not the best for the eyes, and I'm not damn sure not going to paint the sights, but those are the two that I have. But as far as something I just put in the safe and never touch, I did that with some of my 1911s, and I don't have them any longer. So
nice. What about you, KS?
Let me respond to Fit real quick. There we go. So I guess I have two safe queens, but not in the traditional sense. I'll shoot every gun in the safe. There's nothing I won't shoot. You and I differ in that I won't carry every gun that I have, but I definitely want to make sure that I can enjoy them and shoot them. Oftentimes they're just range guns, that sort of thing. So the TSO would definitely be a safe queen. And then the new SPO1 Shadow Orange that I picked up is also a safe queen. I mean, neither of those would I ever consider carrying or home defense or anything like that. They're merely for fun and just to enjoy and hopefully pass down to whomever and that sort of thing. So yeah, they're right. So they are safe queens, but they are shootable and a lot of fun.
Very cool. Yeah, the only one I have is that the PO1 Omega. I don't even carry it. I don't shoot it. I think I put maybe, I don't know, maybe 200 rounds through it when I first got it, and ever since then it's just been hanging in the safe, nice and oiled up and clean. I love the gun. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to destroy it. And my black one, the original one, that thing is already getting beat up. So I don't want to, ruin a good thing. All right. So I've got another question for you, gentlemen. And you kind of already know this, but I want to see if anybody in the side chat could tell us. So this is kind of a little off topic for handguns and guns in general, but this was actually something in the news today, and it has something to do with the Cato Institute. And Cato Institute is more like a conservative, think tank. They go around, they do studies and all this other crap. So they released the list of the most free states to the least free states. And so I'm going to give you maybe 5 seconds to think about which one of these states was the most free and which was the least free. And while you guys are thinking about that on the side chat, the other question I want to ask these two guys is, or kind of discuss with them really quick. Big Johnson mentioned the Type B from Archon Firearms. And I don't know if you guys were aware, but it was kind of interesting because the internet was saying that they were shipping and that they were already en route. But then Dimitri went online and he basically said that they are still stuck in customs. So you're seeing the difference in the stories here. And, Big Johnson made a great point because, at first the gun looks great. Everybody's talking about it. But now with all this nonsense, is this something that you still would be willing to go and get at some point? What are your thoughts on that, fellas?
Big Johnson?
Personally, even if the gun's super nice, I'm not going to buy it. I think, from putting my hands on it and trying it, I mean, it feels really nice in the hands. The trigger's awesome. The sights are awesome. I mean, I can't find anything wrong about it, except the gun is a little large for only having 15 rounds. It really needs 17 rounds, but it'd probably make a +2 or something for it. But the price point on it, even though with the mags and the bag and everything, what they were talking about is like $800 and something. I don't know if that's what I was waiting to see what the street price would be, but it's just, it really kind of reminds me of a hybrid between the CZ P10C and a Glock. It's kind of like the baby or maybe the best of both of those. Right. It just, I thought it was exciting when I got to see it, touch it, feel it, and pull the trigger, but now that's really worn off. And I just, I think that they're probably going to have, I know people are going to buy them whenever they do. Sure. And, I know whenever they come out, people are going to buy them, but I just don't think they're going to sell like they thought they would. And if they would have met their timeline, hell, you would have had one if they would have met their timeline.
Oh yeah, I would have had one for months.
Yeah, you wouldn't have canceled your order. So I think they just really screwed the pooch on it, and I think they've just been kind of surpassed.
Yep. What about you, KS?
As far as that goes, we've seen this before, even over the last couple of years when a firearm gets a lot of hype and then it gets delayed. That can really affect people's perception of it. And in this case, it's pretty exaggerated because it's taken so long and there's been so much back and forth. And they even did the whole, pre-order thing, which was, and I'll harken back to the P10 for a moment. I mean, there was a delay on that as well, and it frustrated a lot of people. And so we saw that. And although they still sell and they sell pretty well because they're a little bit limited still, there's been a lot of feedback that people they moved on. And so to have something that's gone so much longer for people to wait, plus the added burn of people putting their money down and having that money just sitting there and that sort of thing. I don't know what that's going to do. Maybe it's creating more hype. I guess it's possible. But in my opinion, it's like, time to move on, because if the company can't get their proverbial stuff together and be pretty close to the timeline that they provided, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact day, but if they get within the same, let's say quarter, if nothing else, I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, I've got another example, the Scorpion Micro. CZ was saying summer on that. We're getting towards the end of summer, and that still hasn't happened. Now, CZ is pretty notorious for taking their time and that sort of thing, but it's the same sort of deal, and you kind of lose interest a little bit. You're ready to move on. You've got money, you want to spend it, or at least I do. So
right.
I don't know.
All right, so here's the answer to the mystery question before. I saw a lot of good ones. Apparently, Frank thinks that New York and New Jersey are two of the freest states. So the winner of the most free state is the state of Florida. Florida was rated #1 of all 50, and number 50, right at the bottom of the barrel, is the glorious, wonderful Empire State called New York. So I got a really good kick reading that. We were absolutely dead last in just about every single category. So we ranked lower than California, which I don't even know how the hell that's possible, guys. To be honest with you.
You can't even have a straw in California.
I know. So that was a little bit of side information, to go that route. All right, so P365 questions right now. Big J, I know you're never going to get one because, you can't fit one in your disgustingly huge hand. KS, obviously you had one. So my question for you about this with Sig Sauer, there's a lot of people who love them, and there are some people who continually have problems with them. Obviously, we've seen Mac go absolutely insane against Sig with some of the quality control issues. But do you think that Sig screwed the pooch on this one because they really didn't necessarily directly address the problem? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say there are a couple of things. I mean, I think that, and I've said it before. I think Sig had a great idea with the 365. I mean, it really, if it's a working gun, it's a fantastic gun. I was definitely a proponent and still am to a degree. However, I've been pretty put off and turned off by the way they've not only handled some of these things. I mean, they've provided numbers, and Harry's talked about this quite a bit at length. But some of the numbers, the success rates, and that sort of thing, where you're hearing a lot of stories that differ from that. But you also have to take all these stories with a little bit of a grain of salt, and make up your own mind and all that kind of stuff. And oftentimes people jump on the bandwagon of negative experiences. Some of the first people out there were people like Harry, and it's a little bit more genuine, but then a lot of other people start glamming onto that. And you kind of have to, again, you have to weigh the pros and cons for yourself. But I don't think Sig has handled it very well. And so many people have said that Sig has begun using people like us as a test bed, as kind of a final R&D for their firearms. I still hope that that's not the case, because I like Sig Sauer, but they haven't handled it very well. And the Mac stuff, there's been more drama with that over the weekend with his stuff with the Raptor or whatever it's called,
the Rattler or whatever it was.
Rattler, yeah.
Right. I mean, they took down one of his Instagram posts. You guys probably saw that, and they actually they claimed that it was pornography. That was the only way they were able to take it down, and it was a Sig person that admitted it. Again, they're, from a PR perspective, and doing that for somebody like Mac, that's probably not a good idea. Now, I like Mac. I think he's pretty cool. Not everybody does, but for somebody that's high enough profile in the industry, bad move, Jack. That can leave a sour taste in people's mouths.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the night that I went to shoot Harry's and the damn firing pin broke, and I didn't even get to shoot it, I was just like, really? And then, of course, Harry and I talked to Sig, at the NRA show, and they even knew they had a problem. And it's like, why put a Band-Aid on it? Make it right. Make sure all the crap, don't just throw another firing pin in it and ship it out and then have to redo slides and all this other crap. Fix the damn problem, because, when Harry came down, he brought a holster for the 365 and was going to wear it at the NRA show. He was going to use it as his carry gun. He would have pulled that gun out and the damn thing would have broke or wouldn't have fired.
Right.
You can't put people's life at stake like that and just think it's okay. And he had over 1,000 rounds to that gun. So most people won't shoot, or not, I'm not saying everyone, but
right.
A lot of people won't shoot 1,000 rounds in their lifetime. They load it up, they throw it in the sock drawer, or just carry it around. And hell, I know people that load guns, buy them brand new, and load them up at the gun store and start carrying them. And I'm like, shoot the damn things, make sure it works. It might not even cycle your particular ammo, but yeah, we shouldn't be test dummies. Now they're metal guns, like the Legions and things like that. I haven't seen any problems with them other than some of the finishes. on the Legions, but I think that was the older ones. And I think that they, are really well known for their aluminum or their alloy or their steel guns. But, and hell, people have even said that about CZ, hell, their CZ needs to stay with the aluminum guns or what they know, don't go to the striker fire. So it's just a mixed bag. But knowing that the primer drag, and I've shot crap loads of pistols and I own crap loads of pistols and y'all do too. But when you see primer drag like that, I mean, I've shot shitloads of rounds through my shield and other guns, and I've never seen primer drag. It's just a nice little dot, and I've got a whole bag of brass that I shot tonight, and I can show you from 3 different guns there's no primer drag. We can sit here and go through every one of them, and that was 350 rounds tonight. So to say that that's okay, I call BS on that.
Now,
I've got small guns.
let me ask you
that loud mic.
You bring up a good point. Now, I don't, and hopefully everybody will be really honest about this. How many out there were familiar with primer drag before the whole the Mac thing and all of that blew up? And I will just tell you flat out, I had never heard of that before. That was not a term I was familiar with. I either had never experienced it or I haven't noticed it. And I certainly haven't had a gun not work because of it, because again, I'd never heard of it before. So, and hopefully everybody will be honest. How many of you really were familiar with that before this whole incident occurred?
Hang on real quick. I think you need to rephrase that. There was not a term primer drag until a 365 came out.
What was there not really?
That's what I'm saying. I have never, every one that I've looked at, it's been a center punch, or, it might be like a punch and just, like almost like a small indentation and a bigger one, but it's in the same hole. I've never seen where it's drug it all the way down the primer line. Now, if somebody wants to say, I have it on all my pistols or whatever in the chat, that's cool. But like I said, I've never experienced it, and I've shot tons of small pistols. Now, not as small. Matter of fact, I shot Humble Marksman's Glock 43 tonight. Okay, I shot it tonight, and we picked up the cases. There wasn't any primer drag on it, and it's smaller than a shield. And I mean, I looked at the brass. Matter of fact, I picked it up, and threw it in the bag. And there's no primer drags on it. So now I didn't check all, 350 rounds, but yeah, you're right. There was no nomenclature out there with all their YouTube saying primer drag. Nobody brought it up. Now, primer drag. Boom. Now we've got a whole new term.
Right. And I think, the reason why I asked the question was just simply because, when you brought up the issue with Harry, who would have been carrying that gun and God forbid he needed to use it, it wouldn't have been functional. And I think what gets me with a company like Sig is the fact that you have a really good history of making quality handguns. Yes, you've had some bumps in the road, P320. But, in regards to, trying to maintain that reputation, why wouldn't you just come out and say, all right, guys, we found that there's an issue from this serial number to this serial number. We're going to do a mandatory recall. We're going to send you brand new guns, and then go from there. Now, I know they would have to bite the cost on that, but is the cost worth it in the front end as opposed to getting sued later on the back end? So I don't know. I mean, that was just something I was thinking about. You guys know that I am not a huge fan of that P365. But it's just another one of those things. All right, so moving right along here. So I have a question for you guys, and everybody on the side can also pipe up if they want to. But obviously there have been some really terrible stories in the news recently. We had the guy who apparently murdered his 2 children and his pregnant wife, dumped the babies in an oil vat or oil tank actually, and then dug a shallow grave for his wife, and apparently strangled all of them. And then, of course, we have the story of Molly Tibbetts, who was abducted and then murdered, and they just found her body in a cornfield. And, of course, they caught that piece of crap. So, it's not really a political question. I know we try to kind of stay away from that, and that's fine. And honestly, I don't think it's a Democrat-Republican problem. I think it's a government problem in general because, we have a Republican-controlled Congress right now, and yet there has been no movement on making any real reforms that help the citizen of the nation. And again, I think that's where we're missing the boat. Obviously, the government's responsibility is to us first, and they're not carrying out their duties. But my question for you guys is, does this now open up a broader discussion about the Second Amendment and people having the right to protect themselves, knowing that, the police, Not knocking them at all. They do a great job. But the police and the government can't effectively protect you anymore. I mean, let's be real. They just can't. And maybe they never could. But obviously, as times change, we have to be able to adapt to those changing times. And I think I wonder if this is now going to open up that discussion where you have the ultra left, whatever political affiliation they are, that is pushing for more and more gun control, like the little child David Hogg. Or are we looking more at the ultra right that is unwilling to give up any of the rights to the Second Amendment? So I wonder, how does this open up that conversation? Is it now we're going to see this push more to protecting and being protected, especially for women? I mean, let's be honest, fellas, for those of you who have wives and girlfriends and daughters or whatever, do you think it's more advisable for them now more than ever to get involved into the Second Amendment, to get involved into the self-defense community, the gun community? And where do you see this kind of going? And I know this is kind of off topic for handguns, but I think it's important, and I think it's relevant to us because we love handguns and we want people that we care about to be able to defend themselves. So, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, I think that, like I always say, carry on. I mean, everyone should carry a gun, period. And a lot of people say, well, I might not ever use it. Okay, fine. We don't throw our wallets at people. We don't throw our cell phones at people. But, people could steal your wallet. People could steal your cell phone. So, and if they've got a knife or if they've got a gun, what are you going to use? Your hands? Good luck with that. They can get distance on you pretty quick. But I think everyone should carry, everyone should be at least familiar with the firearm, and that's the thing. All the people that say guns are bad, and, we hear all of this nonsense about, oh, this will fire 5,000 rounds in a minute. People like those people don't know guns. They've never experienced them. They've probably never been around them. And, these people that spout, oh, I'm ex-military and yeah, I can demolish, I can tear down a building with this, come on. I mean, they're exaggerating. I think everyone should, and I think it's, it is your Second Amendment and it needs to be honored. Our forefathers put that in for a reason, and a lot of people say all of that stuff should be changed because it's out of date. No, it's not. I mean, if you look at it and break it down, every bit of that can happen today, just like it could back then. So carry on, period, everyone.
Yeah, I echo all of that for sure. I've been reading some of the comments. Mateo made a fantastic point. He said, "I'm wondering why anyone would wait around for someone else to protect them." And I think that summarizes a lot of this so much. And in horrible tragedies like Molly and others, could the tide have potentially been turned if they had been carrying a weapon, whether it be a gun, a knife, mace, whatever it happened to be, something to give them a little bit of an upper hand, or at least a hand in the battle, maybe not an upper hand, but at least something to level the equation a little bit, and protect themselves. I mean, yeah, I'm a total proponent of it. And anytime I get in a conversation with somebody who's not into guns and doesn't believe in carrying that sort of thing, I understand. And sometimes they make really good points. And if they just look at me and say, you know what, it's not for me, that's fine. That's your choice. That's a choice you make. However, I make a different choice because I know that I need to be reliant upon myself first before I rely on somebody else to come save me. Because let's face it, who's going to do that? The police. And I agree, 17. I mean, I've got a lot of police buddies, and they're good people. But their job, and it says to protect and serve, and they do that the best they can. I think most of them, but they're not in your back pocket. They're not walking alongside of you all day long, right? You're out
carry
there
them under one arm. What's wrong? You don't carry one under one arm?
I wish I could, tiny ninjas and all that kind of stuff, but unfortunately that's not the case. And so I think we need to have the right to be able to level the equation ourselves, and hopefully never have to have that happen. But if for some reason, if the worst thing happened, to be able to defend ourselves, because we've said this before on chats a million times, and I'm sure everybody here has said this to someone who challenges their beliefs in this. Bad guys do it. Right? Bad guys carry guns and knives and who knows what else. I want to too. I want to level the damn equation. I want to be able to say, you know what, Jack, I can do it too. And I bet you I've got more training than you do. I've got more time behind this trigger than you do. And, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, hell, look at Chicago just last weekend. They had another record, shooting, and it happens every week there. And they have the weakest gun laws. Bad guys don't read. They're going to buy the guns out of the trunk of a car, or they're going to steal it from good people with guns, break into their homes and steal them. So, they should just look at Chicago and go, you know what? Everybody needs a freaking gun. Yeah, just carry them. Period.
Well, yeah, it's exactly right. And actually, locally around here, we have had a rash of break-ins at local gun stores. That's been a big thing, including some close to me. I won't mention any names or anything like that, but it's been in the news here, at least locally. There have been a band of thieves going around, and it is stretched for, even outside of the city limits. And that's really scary, and of course, that's an isolated incident. I mean, you can get guns just about anywhere you want, or at least people would make you believe that. But criminals are able to get them oftentimes, and of course, illegally somehow. But again, that just goes back to I want to be able to level the equation, and I want to do it legally, and I want to have the right training, or at least the best training that I can get, and have hopefully the right understanding and mentality to make good choices and good decisions, again, as best I can.
And, and this kind of goes back to the Second Amendment, or to really just everything. If I look at it this way, if the military can have it and all this other stuff, to protect ourselves against tyranny, we need it. Granted, they can afford tanks. We can't, but if they can have a tank, I want a tank. It's just, it shouldn't be, you can have this, but you can't have that, especially even in his, in 17 state. Tying your hands it's just ridiculous.
And, just getting back to one of the comments that I saw from Music Lover, Music said that we've been kind of lulled into this belief that we are protected and we're safe. And that goes back to the whole nanny state idea that, Big Brother will protect you no matter what. And I think the problem with that mindset is that it really has kind of influenced a lot of people. The idea that you don't have to worry about your own protection because, mommy and daddy will protect you. But the problem is right now is that the narrative has to shift. And I think, and I'm going to say this and people are probably going to get pissed, but I don't, do I care? Nope. So my thing is, a lot of people got bent out of shape when it came to like the bump stock. Everybody's like, don't ban the bump stock. But at the same time, the argument that they had was not one that caught the attention of enough people. But then you see things like this where you have innocent people who, if they would have been armed, and maybe she wanted to be or not, I don't know. We don't know that, obviously. But let's say you live in a state where they restrict what you can have, restrict the capacity, all these restrictions. And then because of that, it ultimately leads to your own death. The narrative has to change to how is the government really protecting its people? Period. Because if anybody would read the damn Constitution, you'd have to realize that the sole purpose of our government is to ensure the safety, welfare, and protection of its people. And when the government cannot do that, or when the government refuses to do it, then it's up to the people to correct it. And the more and more we kind of push past that discussion and we focus in or laser focusing on the dumbest things we can talk about, we lose more and more. New York State, I always say, is kind of the test tube for everybody, because we're not as restrictive as California with their handgun laws and their gun laws in general. We're pretty close. But at the same time, you've got a guy here who wants to run for president in 2020. So he's going to try to leave his mark on as much as he can, which eventually is going to trickle down to everyone else. And the more we move away from that argument of how is this government, state, local, federal, protecting us as people, the more likely we're going to lose. And I think when you look at the story, I was so pissed off that this girl lost her life, and also the woman whose husband murdered her, because these are innocent people who are losing their lives, whatever the circumstances is, and they can't even protect themselves because we haven't pushed an agenda that says, you know what, you're entitled to that. You can't rely on others to do it for you, no matter if you live in a small rural community or an urban community. So you have to take it upon yourselves to do that. And that's where we're losing this entire battle, is that we're not telling people it's your right, your God-given right, your human natural right to protect yourself.
Well, and here's a big point that I've thought about for a long time, and I don't see them a lot locally where I live, but when I travel to other states, I have seen them, and I see a few here. The no gun signs. Not 30-07, which means no open carry. There's just 30-6, which is no guns. Okay, I'll look at it this way. If I go into that establishment, of course, and I can't read in that instance, but if I go into that establishment and stuff went down, and say, someone went in there and shot up the place and lives were lost, that owner of that store, whoever put that damn sign up, he better have a damn good insurance policy that's going to pay for every one of these cases. Because if I were in that situation, I would sue his ass. And I mean, as someone who lost a family member in his establishment for putting up that sign and not being able to protect themselves. Now, one, I won't give those people my money, or I'll just do what I want to do. But, they need to start looking at that and push that agenda. Like, okay, you want to put that sign up? Well, boom, here's this insurance policy and here's how much it's going to cost you per month. And then see if they're going to change their mind. But no one does that. They just throw up these, and I've even seen, and we have them in Texas, where they're not legal signs. And I've actually said, hey, do you own this place? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's not a legal sign. I'll call them out on it. It has to be an inch high, etc. And I'll say, that's not a legal sign. Matter of fact, my doctor's office has one. And I had to go in for my physical, and I was carrying my gun and had to trial the whole works. And he was like, what the hell? And I said, your sign's not legal. And he looked at me like I was freaking crazy. But, I'm just like, I've got to protect myself. And, he didn't call the law, which he could have for trespassing. But it's just, I'm not going to tolerate it, period. And I tell you what, that sticker that's right behind your head, the left side of your head, or the left side I'm looking at you on your safe, it could come to that point where we need to do what we need to do to protect ourselves. And,
So I just want to make a quick announcement for all of the people who are trying to push certain products on our chat. I don't want you to.
Yeah, you'll be muted pretty quickly.
Yeah, if you want to do it once or twice, that's fine, guys. But we do not get sponsored by anybody. So, if they want free press, they can, hit your channels up all they want. No offense to anybody. I mean, it's just the way it is, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So behave, gentlemen. All right. So I appreciate you guys spending some time discussing that topic. I thought it was an interesting topic, especially, with how things have been going lately with our president. It's not looking good for him, but I just think if we, like I said, we kind of change the narrative to more, more self-protection and that type of stuff, I think we'll be better off in the end. All right. So I'm going to open the floor to both of you guys now, and you kind of take off with anything you would like to bring up at this point. We've got about another 15 minutes or so. So if there's anything on your plate, mind, brain that you kind of want to discuss or talk about, or what your experience has been just recently with certain firearms, go ahead and knock yourselves out, fellas.
Go ahead, KS.
Just kind of whatever.
Yeah, man, go for it.
Sorry, I was reading a couple of chats there. What is going on? Say the question again. I'm so sorry.
For God's sakes.
I know. I was reading. Apparently, there was some sort of inside joke or whatever. But anyways, will you say it again, please?
So basically, just tell us like what you've been doing lately. What are some of your interests? Anything you want to bring up tonight?
Gotcha. I appreciate it.
And if you want, you can bring up Fort Scott ammunition again for at least the 15th time.
For the 5th, 6th time.
No, I won't say a word about it because it's been covered. But anyways, no, trying a lot of different things. I shot a lot over the weekend. In fact, aside from the Taurus, I also shot the Glock 19X. And actually a 17C. You guys know I'm a fan of the 19C, and it was an interesting experience. I love that 19C so much that I had some built-in expectations for the 17C, even though my past history with 17s has been a little bit sorted, I guess. I just don't shoot them or connect with them as well. And the same was true even with the 17C. Although it was fun to shoot, I'm just not as accurate. The 19X was more accurate and more fun to shoot. And the weird thing is, it's so retarded. They're the same damn grip length. The only explanation is the finger grooves, or it's the idiot behind the gun, me, which is most likely the case. But it was fun to do regardless. It was an interesting experience. I love that 19X, man. That's a great gun. I've really enjoyed it. I'm impressed with it continually. And a rabbi is saying, does cheap beer taste better now that you own a Taurus? You bet it. Little PBR goes really well right next to it. But
well, now you can afford expensive beer because the gun was so cheap.
I can, right, except for the gun that I bought right before it. But anyways, so that was fun. And then of course the Taurus was a lot of fun as well. And that's kind of been the thing. We're getting ready to put out the Rock Island Armory 22 TCM 9mm video that comes out on Saturday. And I got to say, I had a great experience with that. It was a lot of fun. It was reliable. That 22 TCM cartridge is crazy. I mean, when I started shooting that thing, everybody else stopped because they wanted to see what rifle I was shooting. I mean, several people came over, and a couple of people know who I am, and they were kind of looking around. KS, what are you doing? And there was this handgun in my hand, and everybody was kind of asking and expecting it to be some crazy wild thing like a 500 Smith & Wesson or some 50 AE or whatever. And here's this little 22 TCM that was making the biggest fireball and bang, certainly that I've ever shot. So that was a really, really positive experience and a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get that video out there. And yes, wine coolers taste. Listen, I cut my teeth on wine coolers back in the day. That was our jam. Little Bartles and James. I'm not going to lie to you. That coupled with Boone's Farm, Mad Dog 2020, we were all over that stuff. So
you know what I saw the other day in the supermarket was Zima. You guys remember Zima?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. I'm older than both you guys. Hell, I remember Purple Passion and Strawberry Hill. Y'all forgot those. And Night Train.
I don't even know what those are. Those sound like songs to me.
Yep. And Night Train too. Woo. Rough stuff.
So what about you there, Big Johnson? What are some of the things you're kind of looking into? And
well, I do have the Lock Grips giveaway going on. If you haven't checked it out, please do. I've got a video on it. You can do you can just leave a comment if you're a subscriber. And one thing that I've noticed is a lot of people are leaving comments, but then I check and they're not even subscribers. So if you're going to leave a comment, you need to be a subscriber. So and hell, I'm sure some of them will unsubscribe afterwards, and that's cool too. But and if you want to do a VR, do it. I've got there is 8 sets.
Rabbi must be a comic, man. He's got to be a comedian. Maybe it's Dave Chappelle who's actually Rabbi Jesus. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, there's 8 sets of Lock Grips I'm going to give away. So I mean, everybody has really good chances. Compacts. I've got the whole gamut covered. If you've got a TSO 97B, everything's covered. I have been testing some sights. I got them put on, and like here's the P10C, and that is the new F8 sights. Mm-hmm. And tell you what, these are pretty nice sights. And then got another set of sights for the Sphinx. These are the modern weapons, and these things are incredible. Matter of fact, even Humble Marksman was surprised about the groups I was putting up with the Sphinx. So I've got it on video so everybody will see it, and it's not edited. So, but and I'm probably going to do a little long range stuff or attempt. And then this week I am shooting in a USPSA match on Sunday, and I will be shooting the CZ TSO. So excited about jumping into that. And that's what we've got going on here.
All right. No problem. So I'm just responding to Tyler's text.
I know he's harassing. It's awesome.
Yeah. So so if we do say you guys to stop saying certain things, isn't because we hate you. It's just simply because we like to keep our channel as neutral and as like a shill-free zone if we can. That's what we like to do. Now, of course, if they want to send us free ammo, hell, send it, man. I'll shill all day long for you. But
no comment.
Yeah, I know, KS bastard. But that again is the Kansas Mafia we're talking about here. So
right.
I'm not in. Trust me. So, we're coming to the point. We have about 8 minutes left on the chat. I mean, looking overall your handguns, I know KS, you have several on your table. Big J, I think you as well have several. So if you could just, rattle them off name wise, what they are, and then tell us which one of those is your favorite.
Out of the ones I have on the table?
Yeah.
The TSO, the P10C, and the Sphinx. And of course, it's going to be the TSO, but they're all really good guns. I haven't had problems with any of them. So,
okay, all right, KS.
I've got an assortment here. I've got the Taurus G2C. I've got the FN 509 Tactical. I've got the Steyr M9A1 with the threaded barrel, and then actually a 1911, a Springfield Elite Operator 1911. And actually, my favorite of all of them, the one that I look forward to shooting the most, is the Steyr. That gun.
Wow.
Well, here's the thing. I love all these guns. Now the Taurus, I'm not there yet. Obviously, this is a new relationship, so we have to give it a little time to see if it works out, or if I give it the boot. But it's been good so far. The 509 is incredible. I love it. It's a permanent resident, and that's saying a lot. When I decide, yeah, that's a gun I'm going to keep. 9mm 1911s. That's a love affair that just won't break at all. I love them all. And Springfield, I'm a big fan of. They make good 1911s. Man, Tunder's saying it's no champion operator. That's a great gun too. So this is, I think this is the one right above it. It's basically the TRP 9mm. But anyways, it's a good gun. But the Steyr, man, for me, and it just fits my hand like a glove. The ergos are spot on. That trigger is insanely good. I know Mateo's saying I'll own 5 or 6 of them. Brother, if I had the budget, I'd at least have an L9. I've got the S9 and the M9, and I'd be happy with that. But that Steyr's tough to beat, dude. It's a great gun.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Right.
I have on my table, I have the 19X, the 19 Gen 5. I've got the Mod 2, the XDS Mod 2. The M&P Compact, and the Steyr M9. Funny you say that. And of all the guns, this gun is just, I love the M&P 2.0 Compact. It shoots great, flat shooting, great to carry all day long. But again, I'm going to agree with you, KS. There's just something about this little Steyr right here that just hits it on all levels. And for those of you, again, out there who have no experience with these Steyr handguns, you really should check them out. I mean, they're worth every penny. I know some people always say they have some issues with them, but I've had zero issues. And just on a side note, a lot of the handguns that I have right now, I've actually switched out their guide rods. I actually put some DPM systems to several of them. As a matter of fact, I shot the 19 Gen 5 and the M&P 2.0 Compact with them. And I know a lot of people will always debate whether or not there's less recoil or not. But I'm telling you guys, it just feels less snappy. Although it's a 9mm, I know, but you can immediately tell the difference. Now, whether or not it's huge, that is debatable, but there is definitely a difference when you throw those in there. But the Steyrs are fantastic handguns. I don't think you can go wrong with those. Maybe at some point they'll change some things about it, but honestly, do they really have to? That's a bigger question for somebody else to answer. So now that we're about 4 minutes to the end of this, again, I will leave it up to you two gentlemen to tell us a little bit or anything else that you have coming up, anything that you kind of want to do, maybe even talk about your channel as a whole, where you see your channel going in the next couple of months. Because let's face it, we're getting up to the end of the year. It's August already, so we only have about 4 months left of this year until it's over. So I'll let one of you guys take over from there.
Well, I will be on a very big trip next week. Be pretty cool, and I'll kind of give tidbits of where I am, and I'm excited about that. And then, right when I get back from that, I'm going on another trip. And it's in some of these people's neck of the woods. So it's definitely far out of state. I have to take a plane trip on that one, and it'll be a little different. And I do it every year, if that'll give somebody a hint on where I'm going.
Okay. Cass, what about you?
So a couple things. Obviously, first off, thank you, everyone. As usual, you guys are incredible, amazing people, and we have a lot of fun with you. Frank, I've thought about this guy as far as a little worthy competitor to the Taurus, but I hear so many bad things about this guy, far worse than the Taurus, that I struggle spending money on something that really might be a turd. So I don't know. I haven't decided on that yet. But as far as the channel goes, just continuing to plot along and trying some new tricks and tactics in the videos a little bit, although they're subtle. Hopefully they'll help a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just moving along.
Very good. One of the things I'm trying to acquire is the Caracol. I've been doing my best to try to get my hands on one. One of the subscribers of my channel, Steve Lemieux, has always offered it to me, but I, in good conscience, couldn't actually take it because of the weight that we're having right now. I told you both earlier today, I had a very interesting conversation with the court clerk of the judge who actually had my amendments that I'm still waiting for now for 2 months. And it wound up having her hanging up on me because she didn't like the fact that I used the word arbitrary weight. And so, that's kind of the state of the state in New York at this point. I got a couple of things coming up. I did shoot the 19. Very surprised about that handgun. There's some interesting things that I found about the gun that at first I was very negative on, until I actually shot it, until I actually, put it in my hand long enough to really kind of take a second look at it. But it's been remarkably eye-opening in regards to the world of Glock. And so I'll make a video on that and kind of explain that then. Also, the P07, fantastic handgun, no issues, but Jesus, that double action is terrible. I mean, it's just overall a terrible double action on that gun. It's heavy, it's gritty. I'm sure over time it'll start to, maybe smooth it up a little bit. But that's what I've, again, I've shot it before. It's not a big surprise, but just even comparing it to a P01, it is night and day worse than those guns. But it is still one worth getting if you are in the market for getting a cheap.
But you always have to remember, you only pull that double action once.
Right, exactly. But I just want to make sure that first shot goes where I want it to go.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, and that just comes in time. You'll get that figured out.
Oh yeah. All right, fellas. So we are now at 9 o'clock. Everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for all the good comments and everything else. Goodwill to everybody. And we always appreciate you joining. If you haven't subscribed to the other channels, please do so. Dave Gass has a new channel. Check it out. He's got a wonderful lawn, by the way. And, also Tundra Tactical's been here, Fit and Fire. Check all those guys out. The more we could spread around, the better off we're going to be in the long run. And hopefully that'll keep us empowered to stay on YouTube. So have a great night, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Carry on.
You two stick around. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.